if you sometimes go in your car and go to start it and you get a click and the screen switches back to an off or an awake but not on status and nothing happens, that is not indicative of a starter failure. What you're seeing is the vehicle backing out of the ignition sequence. Here's what happens. You press the brake, press the button to start, you get a click, maybe the screen goes either blank or goes back to the awake but off status, and that's it. This typically, I'm not going to say this is typical behavior, but when it happens, for me, it's always been when the vehicle is sitting for at least 2 days. When I go the next day, I've never had this happen myself personally. On the next attempt, it might happen again, or the vehicle might just start as normal. This can feel like a dead or dying battery, and in some cases it is. But the key here is the behavior. There's no attempt at engine cranking. When the actual starter is failing, typically the screen will stay in the on position. You might hear clicking, you might hear the starter spinning without the solenoid engaging it. But that's not what's happening here. This is the vehicle leaving its ignition sequence and reverting back to an awake but off status. In modern vehicles, the starter doesn't just crank when you hit the button. The ECU needs to check the status of the vehicle, and it will go through and just make sure everything is in a ready status before it even allows the cranking to happen. If something in that process doesn't line up, the vehicle can cancel the start request. That's what I'm seeing in my case. So basically, the vehicle is canceling the start process. A dying battery can make this happen more frequently, and oftentimes when you replace the battery, it will stop doing this for the most part. But this is just more influence. So something I've found that works for me, I will turn the ignition on and not press the brake and give it about 10 seconds to boot up. You can see on the screen, it will, whatever it says, start up, checking, I'm not sure what it says, but you let it go through that process, and then I'll hit the brake and the start button. And that works for me. This isn't a fix, this is kind of just a workaround. And so another thing that I noticed is after replacing or repairing the TCM on this vehicle, it has largely stopped doing this. And it's only been about a month, so I can't say for certain. And I'm not saying this was the cause, but I do suspect that the P0915 fault may have been impeding the start sequence. But that is a hypothesis, not a conclusion. This video is about diagnostic clarity, not about troubleshooting or how to. This behavior may seem serious, and it certainly isn't convenient, but it's not your starter failing, and it's not going to be a hard electrical fault if this is just intermittent behavior. So if you have had this sort of behavior with your LR4, drop a comment and let me know what happened to you.